Chromakopia.
Alright, I know it's been a minute, but I'm just going to go in, give my full opinion. I'm kind of sick right now. You might be able to tell in the voice. I'm going to give my full opinion on Tyler, the Creator's new album, Chromakopia. So first off, I want to give my opinion on Call Me If You Get Lost, because if you talk to me in real life, you might think I actually hate that album, but I don't. I think it's really good. I think it's very mature for Tyler, especially in this time in his life. Oh my god, my voice. Jesus Christ. I think we got a very mature Tyler on that album, but personally, I think there were multiple other albums that year that could have won the Grammy besides this one. By the Time I See Phoenix, Sometimes It Might Be Introvert, Vince Staples, Self-Titled, that was a great album in my opinion, but I think the biggest one that should have won was probably The Melodic Blue, or, you know, if you want to give it to Donda, I could also see that one, but The Melodic Blue, definitely very underrated for that year. But yeah, Tyler just released a new album, Chromakopia. Now, first off, I want to say I was really hoping he would get out of the rapping bag. We got a lot on Call Me If You Get Lost, and I really enjoyed it for the time. I don't go back to it a lot, though. I think it's one of those albums, you know, you can't really just go back to on a daily like I do with other Tyler albums, such as, you know, Wolf or Igor. See, my opinion on Tyler's discography so far is there's not a lot of misses. There's only like 2 misses that I would really count as misses, and one of them is not even Bastard or Goblin. I really enjoy Bastard and Goblin because I was really young when I heard them, so they're kind of like engraved in my mind as awesome. The 2 misses that I think he has in his discography, for me personally, is Flower Boy and Call Me. I do think they're good albums, and I think they really push boundaries of Tyler's, you know, artistry at that point in time. But I think Igor is 100% better than both of them. And I think Cherry Bomb is very underrated in his discography and has a bunch of songs that sound very Igor. You know what I mean? He has Fucking Young / Sweet, which, if you listen to it, you know, kind of weird, kind of an awful subject matter, but it sounds just like something off of Igor, or maybe, you know, one of the softer tracks off of Flower Boy. Not really, but mostly it just sounds like something that would have been on Igor. And I feel the same way about the Estate Sale that he dropped last year when he dropped Wharf Talk with A$AP Rocky. I think Tyler's verse on that would have been great on Igor. It sounds very Igor-y. And I really loved that song off of the Estate Sale. That being said, going into Chromakopia, I thought we were going to get something totally different. Because looking at the trajectory of Tyler's albums from Cherry Bomb until now, it's always been something different. See, personally, I find Flower Boy as him evolving as a rap artist. So I give it credit for being a decent rap album. Igor, we had him getting into his weird pop alternative bag, a little bit of psych in there. Great, I loved it. Loved every second of it. Call Me If You Get Lost. A more grown Tyler. A Tyler who's lived through things. A Tyler who has money now to spend on luxurious items. A Tyler who likes to travel since he didn't get to do it when he was younger. A Tyler who's doing everything that he wanted to. Rapping. Love it. Especially after Igor, we get some nice hard raps. I wanted a disco album, a jazz album, something crazy for Chromakopia, but we get overall a rap album. Even though there are tracks on here that just blew my expectations away, like Darling I, even Hey Jane, like I think, you know, he's rapping on it, but I think personally that's one of my favorite rapping performances from Tyler, just because how deep he gets. Like, that's some real raw, heavy emotions, and he talks from both perspectives. It really sounds like Tyler listened to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and was like, I'm gonna do my own version of a scenario that would have been on that album. Now, Noid is probably my favorite song, well, close to my favorite song on the whole album. I mean, it sounds very, you know, melodic. It has one of my favorite Tyler flows on the whole album and one of my favorite beats as well. I think the production on this is very good. I don't think it's better than any of his other albums, but I think it's very solid. I just feel like, in general, the production on this album is awesome and it's great. But for Tyler, it's very mediocre. Like, I feel like he's done so much better production. A song that really grew on me was Darling I. And at first, I didn't really rock with it. Like, I thought the singing on this wasn't on par with his singing on Igor or his singing on the Estate Sale. But going back and listening to it a couple times, it's become one of my favorites on the whole album. Same with Hey Jane. I've talked about it before. Classic. I Killed You. Very underwhelming on a re-listen. Like, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Second time I heard it, I was like, okay. Now, re-listening to it again, I just I don't know, it wasn't my favorite. Judge Judy coming after I Killed You is very nice in the rotation. Like, I feel like this is just a very perfect song to come afterwards. It's not hard, it's not too soft, it's just right in the middle and fits as a perfect balance between I Killed You and Sticky. And coming back to Sticky on a third listen, because there are a couple of these songs I've listened to a couple of times just to get my full opinion on, and Sticky is one of them. Now, Sticky, I think the verses are so short, which really helps. I'm not the biggest Sexy Red fan or Glorilla fan, so to hear them on this, and only for a short amount of time, they killed it. Like, I feel like if their verses were longer, they would have gotten boring and stale, but since it's so in and out of every verse, it really works. Same with Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne should not be featured on this, but it works perfectly. My only problem with Wayne and Tyler, there's only like one song where they've actually like rapped together, and that's on Smuckers. My favorites on this album are definitely in the back half. Take Your Mask Off, Tomorrow, Thought I Was Dead, and Like Him is one of the best runs on the whole album. It's not a perfect project, but I feel like those four back to back to back to back really make it a lot better. I feel like we're getting really deep, emotional, intimate Tyler, and then we get Like Him, which, oh my goodness, the production on this and Take Your Mask Off and Tomorrow it's some of the best production on the whole album. This is when I think Tyler's at his peak, when he's using these weird sounds and really diving into this weird psych rock standpoint on Like Him. I love it. I think this is Tyler's best. He's more letting you into, how he feels about paranoia, how he feels about this weird parasocial relationships that people are starting to have with him, how he feels about the climate of music in general, the climate of the world in general. And I think that's really a mature outlook, especially coming from Bastard, Goblin, Wolf, Cherry Bomb. Listen to all those and you get his adolescent years, even though he was like 23, but you still get the fun Tyler on Chromakopia as well. You get stuff like Sticky, you get stuff like Ratata, and I think those are really good cuts as well, but overall, this is not what I expected, and it's not what I wanted from Tyler at this moment in time. I've listened to the album all the way through twice now, and I can personally say songs like Ratata, I really like it. I really want to like this whole album. I really like Ratata. The only problem with it is I feel like the same way with Kendrick. Kendrick does the same thing. Tyler is now, the sporadic flows everywhere. That's what Tyler's doing on this one, and it really feels kind of try-hardy, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people love Tyler. I love Tyler. I think Tyler's probably in my top 5. But this album it didn't blow expectations. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. He could have just reformed and did something that he did earlier in his career. I didn't want that. I'm glad we got it. I think Tyler was really needed this year. And I'm not disappointed. I'm happy with what we got. There are tracks on here that I think will live on, especially tracks like Darling I, Tomorrow, Hey Jane. The subject matter is what's missing for me. I think it's the subject matter and the way that he's singing on this as well. It doesn't fit right with what we've gotten from Tyler so far. That's kind of how I feel. I feel like it's not the best project going forward. I feel like there could have been more experimental cuts. I feel like the instrumentals could have been, less built up and less, compact. I feel like it could have been more toned down, because I wanted something that he would let breathe like he did on Igor or even moments on Flower Boy. I feel like if he would have went off of, taking inspirations from jazz, disco, rock, putting that all together, we would have gotten an album that is better than anything we've ever heard in the past decade. But Chromakopia, for what it is very good. I wouldn't say that it's great, and I wouldn't say that it's awful by any means. There are still great songs on here. I don't know how many times I had to repeat myself. I just want everybody to kind of understand where I'm at on it. And if I was going to rate it, I would give it a 5.5 out of 10. I was a little disappointed. I'm not fully disappointed just because we did get a new Tyler, and I think there are tracks on here that I will, continuously listen to. But as a full album, because that's how I like to indulge in music, like to listen to the full album, an album in full. And in my opinion, Igor and Wolf are no skip albums. I listen to that whole thing all the way through, and I don't skip a song. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Chromacopia has some skips. If in the following months I keep listening to it and I think that my opinion has changed, kind of like it did for Mr. Morale, I will give an updated review where I give my opinions at that moment. But for right now, it's a 5.5 out of 10. I'm glad Tyler dropped this year. So yeah.